What's up, guys? My name is Jerome. Welcome to the first episode of the Things I Learned From. Now, this is a synthesized version of the H for Hustle podcast. These are just the things I learned from talking to the guest on that podcast. Now, if you guys like what you see here and you want to see the full episode, click the link down below. You'll be able to watch the full episode of the H for Hustle podcast, my podcast. Now, today's guest on the Things I Learned From is Shawn walchef. Now, Shawn walchef is a restaurateur and a owner of a media company. Now, Shawn's restaurant, Cali Barbecue, he started this business in 2008. And when he started it, he had two things working against him. First, the location he had wasn't the best. And the second thing he had working against him, he started a business in the Great Recession. This is in 2008 when everything was crazy.
Let's talk about the speed with which we are watching this market deteriorate. We're red everywhere, essentially, down by 4-5%. We're down over 16%.
Now, when I spoke to Shawn, this was right in the height of when we were sheltering in place, and he was expanding. His business is growing. And the reason why his business was growing when times were tough is that Shawn used the power of the internet. He taught himself, he read books from Gary Vee to everyone who talks about social media, and he applied all those things that he learned into his business, and he was able to grow his restaurant. And then when the pandemic hit, he was able to grow it even more. So the first thing I learned from Shawn is how important it is to create content. Let's run the clip right now.
I would argue that it's more important now to do the content and the digital before your actual business. And I think that
Go into that a little bit more. Why is that? Why do you think that?
the most important real estate is the internet real estate, is search. So if you're not available on a platform, your product, your service, who you are, what you do in your market, if you're not available on Yelp, if you don't have a profile with updated photos, I don't care what kind of business you are. It's not just for restaurants. If you're an attorney, I would tell you the same thing. And I do tell my attorney friends the same thing. We found our daycare by searching a daycare in our area.
Yeah.
Yelp had the best SEO results. So Yelp said, here's the top 10 daycares. Only 2 of those daycares actually had an updated profile, where they had photos, where they had updated information, where they had a mobile-first website that we could easily book a tour of the facility. All the other ones that had been recommended by person, they had terrible websites. They had no idea what was happening with digital. And you know, I'm 38, so I don't consider myself old, but I'm certainly not young. But I know that parents that are younger than I am, they're going to do the same thing. So just because business has been done a certain way in the past, all the opportunity now is on digital.
Yeah.
All the opportunity is finding how can you find your voice, what you care about, what you do, and then claiming it across all those platforms, but then creating content that's valuable to people in all those platforms.
I couldn't agree more with Shawn. Everyone's looking for you on digital first before they're entering your business or they're making a purchase. So make sure that you're on those digital platforms. Now, the second thing I learned from Shawn was don't overthink making content. It's not that hard. Let's get into it right now.
So the problem with content creation is that it sounds complicated and it sounds arduous and it sounds difficult. What I would suggest is understanding that content comes down to 3 things. And that's audio, video, and written word. The hardest thing to produce is something that's overproduced, which is what everyone thinks you need to make. You need to make something sexy that's compelling, that looks like, you know, this incredible YouTube video. Well, yeah, there's a place for that, but really the best content happens out of your pocket. It's actual, real, raw content of who you are and what you do. If you turn that phone on and you go live on Facebook and you say, this is who I am, this is where I'm at, I'm struggling because I don't know what to produce, but I know that I need to start making videos. Every single day that you do that, you're going to start making better videos. You're going to start getting one person that goes, thank you for saying what I believe, because you're not the only person that's starting to understand that I need to make content. Every single business is going to start to understand at some point that the marketing that they've been doing in the past is incorrect. All those terrible, shitty emails that they're sending out, they should be turning a video on to the CEO and talking to the CEO. Talk to the sales rep and say, what's important? We have all these meetings every single week about all this bullshit, and nobody cares about what we're doing on social media. Social media isn't the only answer, though. My number one suggestion is to care about your website. If you care about your website and creating content for your website first, that's the engine that's going to drive your e-commerce business.
Gotcha.
That's really the thing that no algorithm's going to change outside of, yes, how Google does their search results. But ultimately, you produce it for your website first.
Gotcha.
Written, audio, video, and then you distribute it differently to the different platforms. Somebody on LinkedIn is different than somebody on Twitter.
Yeah.
Is different than somebody that's on Facebook. And number two is to not discriminate platforms. Everybody has a problem with some platform because of some reason. And there's a reason to think that every platform, but there's people there. There's people. If I'm not on Uber Eats, that doesn't mean that there's people in the neighborhood that are ordering from Uber Eats. So if barbecue is not an option for them, they're going to give their money to someone else.
Somebody else, yeah. And you got to be where they are everywhere.
Correct.
Yeah, guys, you can't discriminate against the platforms. You have to be everywhere your customer is. And that leads me into the third thing and final thing that I learned from Shawn is be where your customers are. Wherever the people are, you have to be there. You can't just say, this is what I am and kind of be stuck in your ways. You have to change when times change. And Shawn breaks it down beautifully. So let's get into it.
The most important thing that any restaurant, bar, retail shop does is right now, don't focus on how to get back to normal. Don't focus on all the things that are going wrong. Figure out your website, like right now. Like figure out, how do we create an e-commerce platform to sell things online? How do we sell things on Amazon? How do we sell things on Etsy? How do we figure out our Facebook shop? How do we figure out Instagram? Because that's where people are.
Yeah.
That's where they are. Like we need to stop discriminating locally how we're doing business, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't, if they're on the phone and they're searching, and that's the thing is every single year, look historically, I know from our own analytics, more people are searching on mobile than on desktop. So if your site isn't mobile first and it's clunky and nobody cares and there's no easy call to action, buy barbecue, what do I do? Like, why am I on this site? Buy barbecue. Buy it for pickup, buy it for delivery. You want a free cobbler? Put your email in. Now we have somebody they're getting a free cobbler. That's a call to action. They're coming to our restaurant. They don't even have to buy anything. We're giving them a gift. But we know once they come, they're going to want to try the barbecue. We've already given them something. But then they're going to get an email every single week that's going to tell them what's happening with the restaurant. It's going to tell them what's happening with the podcast, what's happening with our family. Any kind of useful information that we can give, we do the email marketing. And that's something that's been very valuable for us to be where we are.
Now, guys, those are the three things that I learned from talking to Shawn, walchef. As you can see, Shawn has a wealth of knowledge and a wealth of information. So if you want to listen to the full episode, click on the link down below. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button if you like what you see, and come back for more next week. Peace.
I'ma show you how to hustle.